Hercules, we're joined now by our good friend and colleague from ESPN FC, Craig Burley. You can catch him and the rest of the gang 7 days a week on ESPN+. Now, we invite Craig into our show here to serve as a mediator. Can you believe it? We don't just invite Craig. You got to be prepared when you bring Craig Burley on. So we had some homework. We wanted to know who the top 5 players from CONCACAF in Europe are based on current impact. Now, that's a little bit nebulous, but Herc, we came up with your top 5. Let's take a look at it now. And it begins, funny enough, with a Mexican player. Tecatito. Herc is your number 5 player playing for Porto. Alphonso Davies for Bayern Munich in at number 4. HH in at number 3. Christian Pulisic 2. And Raul Jimenez ahead of Christian Pulisic. Hercules Gomez, explain your choices.
It's pretty straightforward. If you look at Jesus Corona in his season at Porto playing in that wingback position, he's putting up, I believe, now 6 assists. He's been a staple in that team. Alphonso Davies speaks for himself. He's been a star of their last 7 games, came off the bench before that. He's really coming into his own. A lot of that has to do with injury and form for Bayern, but he's doing really well. Ache, the guy didn't play at all for Cholo Simeone starting the year, and all of a sudden he's a guy that you can't get out of the lineup. He started all but 1 Champions League game. He's a fixture for Atletico. And then Christian Pulisic's really coming into his own with Frank Lampard and Chelsea. It was a really tough decision between Christian and Raul, but Raul's form right now, I mean, the type of form that's linking him to big clubs like Manchester United, it can't be ignored. He's easily the most in-form player in CONCACAF play at the moment.
Craig Burley, you're never satisfied. Surely something on this list leaves you upset.
Not particularly, because I looked at the rest of the players on the list, and even for you two, this was not a difficult list to compile.
Yes.
Now, it depends what order you put them in. I suppose we could have a little disagreement about that. But, I think from Christian Pulisic's point of view, going back to what Herc was saying, was maybe at the time when he was flying at Dortmund, it might have been a different case where he's just come into the Chelsea side, he's finding his feet. He wasn't a regular at the start of the season, which upset lots of people, probably you two as well. But he had to be patient. And I do think that Raul Jimenez at Wolves is a player who has had a big impact, albeit over the last couple of years. He didn't have a great impact at Atletico Madrid, as you know. He didn't have a big impact at Benfica. If you look at his goals, he didn't get that much game time. But at Wolves, he has been the big player for Wolves. If you watched the game against Spurs just a few days ago, I know they lost, but he led the line particularly well. He reminded me a little bit in his movement of Luis Suarez a little bit. I'm not comparing him to Luis Suarez, but
There you go.
He reminded me. He just reminded me with the movement and how he used his body, a little bit of the Uruguayan. And I do think he is a player that could move on to bigger and better things.
All right, now let's take a look at a proper list, a proper top 5. Here's my top 5, a little bit different than Hercules.
Surely no bias.
We agree that Raul Jimenez is the number 1 player from CONCACAF right now in Europe. We should note, Keylor Navas not included. This is field players only. Everyone agrees Jimenez ahead of Pulisic. Look at that on the list. Craig, who had the better list here, me or Herc?
Well, tell me about Chucky Lozano's game time.
Exactly.
You're going to blame that on Chucky Lozano?
Well, I'll tell you
Gonna blame
what, let's just find other players from By the way, I've got no interest in where the players come from. I know you're...
I'm sorry, Chucky Lozano's playing in Champions League.
Why are you making excuses for Chucky Lozano? What has he done? It's fine. He doesn't play as a second 9. That's not his position. He's still playing there and he hasn't been effective. That's why Ancelotti left.
Nah, come on.
Who do you want? Then how can you put him in your top 5 in-form players now?
Impact players. Look at where he's playing. He's in a Champions League team. He's playing against Barcelona. Who do you want to put above him? Porto. Tecatito playing against
They're 8th place in Serie A, by the way. They're 8th place in Serie A.
No.
Well, he was the first one that sprung out to me when I looked at your list. And I do believe as well that you, at least you, Sebi, were up to the wee small hours last night, so worried about your top 5, how in which order you had them. You were going to look so stupid, you hardly get any sleep last night. And now where have you started off? You've started off with somebody that shouldn't even be in the list.
Hey, let me ask you this.
Exactly.
Why is Christian Pulisic ahead of Alphonso Davies.
And by the way, when
Why
we're
is it-
doing
why
this,
is Christian Pulisic ahead of Alphonso
when
Davies?
we're doing this, don't start all
For
that
the same
mixed-
reason he cost over $70 million in the transfer
Don't-
fee, because he's an
don't start
offensive
money
player
now.
and he impacts
it's money,
the game.
not what's actually happening. It's
Listen,
money now.
don't start rolling your R's with me with all
You
these
try-
pronunciations, right? Don't start. Just whatever play you've got in the top 5, just say their name properly. Don't start all these rolling the R's with the pronunciation.
Properly for you is different than properly for me. Now listen,
Well,
Craig,
don't
I'm very
invite me.
interested.
Listen, if you're going to start with that, don't invite me. Don't invite
I'm
me
very-
on to mediate. If you're going to be, if you're going to be telling me all these names,
Most
in a different
importantly,
language.
properly for the player.
Right. Let's get
Yeah.
to the rest of your list.
Let me ask you this, Craig. I'm interested to hear you sing Christian Pulisic's praises after all the criticism that I heard throughout the season, not just of Pulisic, but of the U.S. fans who now we know were rightly calling for him to play more. Say it now. The
Well-
U.S. fans
Well,
were
come
right.
on, hold
They
on.
were right.
Rightly
See, this is where you fall down here because, as you well know, and I think you were trying to say that I was criticising Christian Pulisic, when I never. You go back and find the tape and see where I criticised Christian Pulisic. What I criticised were people like you who were crying every Saturday morning.
were
Thank
when
you.
the Chelsea
Who were
team
right?
was-
He should have been
Thank
starting
you,
at the
Craig.
beginning of the
Thank you,
season.
Craig.
And all we said was
Straw man. He's
Christian,
fielding straw man.
Christian Pulisic needs a little bit of patience. You know who the most patient person was in all this? Sebi, was Christian Pulisic. Because he didn't get upset. Because Frank Lampard said to him, listen, you're a talented player. You'll get your chance. Mason Mount's doing particularly well at the moment. But I'm going to find a place for you in the team when the time's right. And you'll get a game. And guess what happened? He's got some game time. So who was right? Yep.
13 games,
It's
5
me
goals,
again.
as many assists. He's really been an impact player for them. But Craig's right. It was all about him biding his time and getting used to the game that is the Premier League, how physical it can be, up to speed of play. It's a very young team. They're all still getting used to each other. Christian Pulisic has been fantastic. I don't know how you have him as low as 3rd.
Hey, yeah, keep sleeping on Alphonso Davies. He's starting for Bayern Munich. He's starting for Bayern Munich. Okay?
That's
a
because
team
their
with
left back is
Champions
playing
League
center back.
aspirations.
When
Chelsea
Alaba
was
comes back,
hopeful
you think he's
to
gonna be
get
playing
in
left
the
back.
Champions League this year. Hoping. Starting at left back. Alphonso Davies. One more thing on Pulisic. Should he have been the U.S. men's national team player of the year, Hercules, in 2019?
Yeah, you're splitting hairs. It's Christian Pulisic or it's Jordan Morris. Both had a fantastic run with the U.S. men's national team in what was 2013. And I say fantastic in terms of individual performances and stats, but it's about what Christian Pulisic does for the team. Honestly, myself, I had Jordan Morris, more impact goals, what he's done, his assists. He was that type of player. He's had a fantastic rebound from that torn ACL, but you're really splitting hairs when it comes to Christian Pulisic and Jordan Morris.
Fantastic,
national team this year.
Hercules.
Sebi,
Christian Pulisic was fantastic against
Sebi,
Canada
Sebi,
when he was in tears
Sebi,
coming off
individually.
the field.
Sebi, put down your Christian Pulisic scarf.
That's not his choice.
For a minute. Take the Christian Pulisic posters off from your bedroom and ask me the same question that you just asked Herc.
Why? So you can say can't be bothered.
No, ask me the same question.
All right. Should Christian Pulisic be U.S. men's national team player of the year from 2019 as he was awarded?
I don't care.
Come on.
Who cares? next, you're going to be telling me how important the January camp is for the U.S. men's national
here he
team.
comes. He's killing the January
All right,
camp.
Craig, you know what I want to know, Craig?
You're going to be dragging people
Craig, I
away
want to
from-
know why it's important.
What?
I want to know why the coach is important when we talk about Chucky Lozano, but it's not important when we talk about Christian Pulisic.
Did Frank Lampard get fired mid-season? No.
You were
he
talking
didn't.
about Greg.
fired.
You weren't talking about Frank.
So you presuming
talking about Greg, not
are you
Frank.
presuming that Rino Gattuso is going to be all of us? What if Chucky Lozano doesn't play under Gattuso? What's going to happen then?
He didn't start under Gattuso in the first game,
Exactly.
and it's a problem. It's a problem.
So
Now,
it's still a problem.
They lost. They lost as a result.
Oh, they
That's
lost.
what happens. You
they
don't
lost
start
because Chucky
you
Lozano
lose.
didn't play. Oh, I
Lesson
get
for
it.
Rino Gattuso.
They're
tell
not
you-
sitting in 8th place because Chucky Lozano isn't doing well, my friend.
I tell you what, that's the impact that
Maybe they should
CONCACAF
play him
players
more.
are having. They're lost. Napoli are 8th because Chucky Lozano's not getting enough game time.
Okay.
Now I
Exactly.
understand.
There you go. He's not getting a fair shake. That's why they're 8th
Yeah.
place.
Real quick, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because Craig, you kind of touched on it earlier in the segment. Raul Jimenez,
Yeah.
is he ready for a top 6 move this coming summer?
If you tell me I'm getting paid for this segment, I'll give you an answer. Am I getting paid for this segment or not? Because
Yes,
it's extra.
check is on the way.
You're not
but
getting paid?
I'll be checking. I've hung about here for hours for this.
Oh,
So,
you don't have anything better to do.
I tell you what,
got
There's a few
nothing better
Peronis
to
coming
do.
your way, my friend.
It's not golf
I
season.
I do have some better things to do. I've got to tell you. I've got to go down to the cafeteria and see what's fresh down there. But I tell you what, if I said Raul Jimenez was not ready to move to a bigger club, there's one of you two would get very upset about it.
Well, you'd be wrong.
Well,
Who do you think it would be?
And there you go. You've answered my question straight away. Don't take it so personally. The answer is Wolves are an excellent club. Nuno Espirito Santo is an excellent manager who has been linked with Arsenal and one or two other clubs. I think the time will be soon, potentially, for Raul Jimenez to move on. The trouble is, he's 28. He has to do it sooner rather than later. He's at his peak, and the trouble is, he's tied to Wolves at the moment. But I do think, not just to appease you, Sebi Salazar, but I do think Raul Jimenez could do a job at a bigger club. There you go. I've said it. Are you happy?
I am very happy. Herc, time for Jimenez to move on?
Yeah, I think so. And Craig brought something up that's really making me think. If you look at Luis Suarez and his movement, there's one thing about Luis Suarez that I will say is very similar to Raul Jimenez, is how selfless he is for a 9. He brings other people into the game. That's Raul Jimenez's best quality. He knows how to bring others into the attack, others into the final third. It's not his finishing ability. So I do agree with Craig there, and I do think it's time to move on from Wolves.
Do you know
Look at that.
Guys, just one last thing from me. Do you know why I love working with you two?
Why do you love working with us, yous two?
Why?
Because there's no two better people in the business that make me look good.
There he is, the immortal Craig Burley.
That's not
Thank you for
true. I've
joining
seen
us.
you on FC. There are plenty.
Take that.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.